Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Sitiveni Ligamamada Rabuka, the Honourable Prime Minister of Republic of Fiji, has arrived. Kindly rise to welcome him with applause. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening to the dignitaries on the dais and esteemed members of the audience, members of the diplomatic corps, respected academics, representatives from the media, and students. We have gathered here today for the 54th Sapru House lecture. Today's lecture will be delivered by His Excellency Sitiveni Ligamamada Rabuka, the Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Civil Service and Public Enterprises, Republic of Fiji, on the theme Ocean of Peace. The lecture will be chaired by Ms. Nutan Mahawar, Acting Director General and Additional Secretary, Indian Council of World Affairs. We will begin our program with the Acting Director General, ICWA, Ms. Nutan Mahawar, delivering her welcome remarks, after which we shall proceed with the 54th Sapru House lecture to be delivered by our esteemed guest. We will have a brief question and answer session after the lecture, which will be moderated by the chair. Let me now invite the Acting Director General, Ms. Nutan Mahawar, to deliver her welcome remarks and conduct the proceedings.
Excellencies, distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, academia, media, and students. We are honored to host the Honourable Sitiveni Ligamamada Rabuka, Prime Minister of the Republic of Fiji, for today's 54th Sapru House lecture on Ocean of Peace. This Sapru House lecture series at the Indian Council of World Affairs, India's oldest and leading foreign policy think tank, has previously featured several eminent personalities, including heads of states and governments and heads of international and regional organizations and other personalities of eminence. Honourable Prime Minister Rabuka has a long and eminent political career. As Prime Minister, he has made concerted effort for the growth and development of Fiji and its people. Under his leadership, Fiji has emerged as a vocal advocate for climate justice for small island countries. He has been an advocate of strong regional unity and dialogue in the Pacific. Having been an athlete and a sportsperson of eminence himself, he symbolizes the importance of enhanced ties within the Pacific through soft people-to-people interactions, such as in sports. India and Republic of Fiji share close historical and cultural linkages. Despite the geographical distance, our histories are intertwined through the threads of migration across time. During the colonial period, while geographically distant, Indo-Fijians living in Fiji drew inspiration from India's freedom struggle that resulted in fostering greater political consciousness and a growing sense of agency among all Fijians to resist colonial exploitation, building a shared narrative of resilience against colonial oppression. Workers of Indian origin moved to Fiji when both India and Fiji were British colonies. These workers stayed on, never to return, making Fiji their home and contributing to its economy, society, and increasingly its polity. We in India derive satisfaction when leaders from Fiji assure us of the full integration of the people of Indian origin into their societies and tell us tales of their vibrant contributions to the nation's prosperity, well-being, and cultural milieu. Today, India and Fiji share robust bilateral ties. The closeness of the relationship is clearly reflected in frequent high-level visits from India to Fiji in recent years, including the most recent visit of President Srimati Draupadi Murmu in 2024. Fiji, as an important ocean state in the Pacific, has its identity, growth, and challenges linked to the ocean. Both being maritime states, maritime cooperation is an important area that needs to be pursued between India and Fiji as a key area of cooperation. Indian Navy ships have made goodwill visits to Fiji as part of their operational deployment. Multi-role frigate INS Satpura's visit to Suva in 2022 is notable. India has provided humanitarian assistance and disaster relief to Fiji in case of cyclones. When Cyclone Yasa hit Fiji in 2020, India extended timely assistance despite pressures of the pandemic. And of course, India supplied valuable vaccines and essential medicines to Fiji during COVID, which was reflective of our deep-rooted and friendly ties. Friends, the global order is in transition, and we see strategic uncertainties in every part of the world. Great power competition, economic disparities, technological disruptions, and environmental pressures are redefining security. The Pacific Island countries are also witnessing the impact of the intense geopolitical competition in the larger Indo-Pacific region. Amidst this geopolitical churn in the world and in the Indo-Pacific, India remains committed to its vision of a free, open, inclusive, peaceful, and prosperous Indo-Pacific region premised on a rules-based international order and to build partnerships based on this vision. Prime Minister Rabuka's Ocean of Peace concept, on which he will be speaking today, is a step forward in regionalism, offering a set of principles that embed peace as the cornerstone of the Pacific's individual and collective policies. While strategically located with large and resource-rich exclusive economic zones, the Pacific Island countries are disproportionately exposed to the vulnerabilities of climate change and sea level rise, with limited capacities to deal with such challenges. Amidst the current geopolitical situation, Fiji's leadership role in the Pacific Islands region remains crucial in advocating the needs and calling for collective action to deal with shared challenges of small island countries like climate change, illegal fishing, and so on. India's approach and outreach to the Pacific Island countries has been guided by the overall aim to contribute to empowerment and improvement of the quality of people's lives. The Forum for India-Pacific Islands Countries, FIPIC, launched in 2014 in Fiji during the historic visit of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, has brought India and the PICs even more closer, providing a platform to discuss multidimensional cooperation. India is a development partner for the PICs across key sectors, including healthcare, disaster management, building climate resilience, undertaking solar, renewable energy, and climate-related projects, SMEs, information technology, agriculture, and in the area of capacity building under India's ITEC program. India's outreach focuses on inclusive relationship guided by the priorities of the small island countries. The largest development projects supported by the Government of India in the Pacific region so far is in Fiji, is a 100-bed super speciality hospital in Suva, which is a much-awaited project announced at the 3rd FIPEC Summit in 2023 for affordable healthcare. Launch of Jan Aushadhi Kendras, or people's pharmacies in Fiji, has also been agreed to by both the sides. As I mentioned, climate change and sustainable development are crucial areas of concern in the PICs. It is in these areas that India seeks to build closer partnerships for effective and concrete solutions. Fiji is already part of India's global initiatives, which are intrinsic to our regional and global commitment to the climate change agenda, including International Solar Alliance, Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI, and also Infrastructure for Resilient Island States, IRIS, and the Global Biofuel Alliance. Friends, the re-emergence of the Global South is reshaping global dynamics. Today, Global South is seeking to represent a united voice against global asymmetries and contributing towards shaping a multipolar world and a reformed multilateral order. Fiji has been playing a leadership role when it comes to amplifying the voice of small, vulnerable ocean states and shaping the global dialogue on climate change and advocacy for climate justice. Fiji was the first small island to hold presidency of the United Nations Climate Change Conference COP23 in 2017. India, as a leading voice of the Global South, calling for cooperative security and collective growth, will continue to stand side by side with Fiji and other small ocean states for climate justice and other issues of concern. As India and Fiji commemorate 55 years of formal diplomatic ties in 2025, we recognize our shared values and historical cultural connections as we look forward to expanding collaboration and partnerships in existing as well as emerging areas. With this, let me invite the Honourable Sitiveni Rabuka, Prime Minister of Fiji, to deliver the 54th Sapru House lecture on the theme Ocean of Peace. Sir.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Mahawar. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I also noticed there are some young people in the audience, the leaders of tomorrow. I extend to you all a very good afternoon and warm greetings from the President, the government, the chiefs and the people of Fiji. It is my distinct honor to be here in New Delhi to make some remarks on the Ocean of Peace concept, of which I am probably the principal advocate during this decade. There have been many who have tried to promote the concept of Pacific as an ocean of peace. I raised this idea in consideration of the vast and interconnected expanse of our blue Pacific continent and its multifaceted impact on our own region and beyond. While our island state might be small and scattered in the Pacific Ocean, collectively, we have sovereign rights over 32 million square kilometers of the Blue Pacific. This area alone is only slightly smaller than the combined land areas of Russia, China, and the United States of America. Yet, Pacific peoples have remained resilient. We are united by a shared identity and a deep guardianship of our ocean, although it is the world's ocean, the Pacific. This resilience and unity inspired the Ocean of Peace concept and its vision for the future. Considering the collective area of the Blue Pacific, it is significant as an exclusive economic zone and a geostrategic importance. It is of great geostrategic importance for our region and the world. I continue to passionately advocate the Ocean of Peace concept for the future security and prosperity of our region and beyond. When considering this future outlook, we must also reflect on our very rich history and our unique heritage. Our forebears journeyed into the unknown some 3,000 years ago in great outrigger canoes. They steered by brilliant navigation using the stars only at the time. These pioneers sailed infinite miles month after month and finally settling on the islands and atolls that they discovered. It remains one of the most remarkable migrations of a people, a testimony of human endurance, fortitude, and achievement. We are a people who are at one with the sea and the land, creating a civilization that is still flourishing today. It would be remiss of me not to mention a very important figure from history, Ferdinand Magellan, the famed Portuguese navigator who sailed across the Pacific Ocean in 1522. This marked the era of early European discovery of the Blue Pacific. Magellan stands out because he bestowed the name of our aquatic continent, which still remains today, the Pacific, which means peaceful. The waters that Magellan traversed were calm at the time. However, we all know that the waters of the Pacific have not always been that way. The Blue Pacific has been a theater of external wars. It has been treated as a testing ground for the most dangerous weapons. It has endured catastrophic calamities caused by climate change and its rich resources exploited by many. This is the current reality of the Blue Pacific. Recognizing these security dynamics, in September 2024, Fiji launched its inaugural foreign policy white paper, which carefully articulates that our most significant security threat lies in the prospect of a wider region which is riven by division, insecurity, and instability. Considering those dynamics, the most significant contribution that Fiji can make is to state a strategic equilibrium in the broader Indo-Pacific region. It is to focus on the challenge for peace and security in our own Pacific neighborhood. As I farewell the draft of peacekeepers when I was commander of the Fiji Army, I told them, we cannot give anybody anything we do not have. And we have been peacekeeping in the Middle East since 1978. And people ask, where are you from? Fiji. Where is that? In the Pacific. So I thought one of the very basic things we must create in the homeland, home area of these peacekeepers is to take abroad a peace that we already feel at home. That is why I have advocated for the Pacific to be a zone or an ocean of peace. This challenge for peace has faced me squarely for the past few years, and in fact, since I became a peacekeeper and a politician, I feel great responsibility for the destruction of peace that we had at home, and now the restoration of peace at home and the wider Pacific region to advocate to the rest of the world. In that way, I'm greatly concerned about the geostrategic competition that is before the Blue Pacific region right now, and has been further accelerated by the ongoing international conflicts around the world. We live in a time where there is growing economic uncertainty throughout the world, and that is felt very keenly in our geographically dispersed Pacific states. The global rules-based international order had been tested to its limits, and multilateralism is eroding in the face of prolonged conflicts and humanitarian catastrophes. Further exacerbating this situation is the existential threat posed by the impact of climate change. Rising sea levels, increasingly severe weather conditions, weather events, and the changing ecosystem. These threaten our ways of life and our very existence in the Blue Pacific. And that brings me to what we can do as a Pacific family through the Ocean of Peace concept, which is founded on the Pacific way of dialogue, diplomacy, and consensus. I have always believed in the Pacific approach to security, to stability, and to prosperity. We are stronger when we stand together. At the Pacific Island Forum meeting in Rarotonga in 2023, I proposed that regional leaders agree on a set of principles that embed peace as the cornerstone of our individual and collective policies in the region. I would like to elaborate a little on the Ocean of Peace concept. At the core of the concept is a shared aspiration rooted in our traditions and guided by a collective commitment to regional cooperation and stability, and cooperation for stability. It reaffirms our commitment to ensuring our people can lead free, healthy, and productive lives. The Ocean of Peace concept is a signal that we seek a region in which strategic competition is managed, where stability is a touchstone of regional relationships, and where coercion is kept in check. The concept reflects my belief that a united region is a strong region, that when we speak with one voice, our power is magnified. This concept also calls for us to remain committed to peaceful development, because lasting peace across our countries requires a careful balance between national security and sustainable development. This elusive peace is not something achieved through our police or security forces alone. It also requires families and communities, societies and nations that are built on the foundation of harmony, stability, satisfaction with life, and freedom from want and fear. The Ocean of Peace stands on core principles of the concept which primarily draws our foundational tenets of Pacific regionalism. It is our opportunity to weave the threads of our Pacific past with our vision for our Pacific future. The Ocean of Peace concept is based on the following 12 principles: a shared commitment to peaceful resolution of disputes based on the Pacific Way, respect for international law and norms. We recall the United Nations General Assembly Declaration on the Rights of Peoples to Peace that was adopted on the 12th of November 1984. Rejection of coercion as a means to achieve security, economic, or political advantage. Freedom to determine our own security and strategic policies. Upholding freedom of navigation and overflights. A commitment to the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, protecting the maritime environment, a recognition that common challenges require common solutions, respect for human rights, support for regional institutions, calling on actors to champion rules of responsible, peaceful, deconflicting behavior, and 12, bringing our people together. These principles are based on the Pacific Way. They also offer an opportunity for us to set out how we expect those from outside the region to respect our approaches and participate with us. Very important. This means respect for the Pacific Way, respect for norms and law without coercion. Based on these principles, the concept would serve to strengthen our unity and elevate the international visibility of our islands, which will accelerate increased opportunities for tourism, investment, and development. By upholding these principles, we strengthen the Pacific unity, we raise our international profile, and create new opportunities for tourism, trade, investment, and development. In this effort, India is an important partner. Bilaterally, India's support in areas like digital solutions, healthcare, renewable energy, education, and skills development helps Fiji build resilience and prosperity for our own people. Multilaterally, India can amplify Fiji's voice at the United Nations and at other international fora, supporting our calls for decisive climate action, nuclear non-proliferation, and a rules-based international order under the UN Charter and United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. Together, Fiji and India can work together to ensure that the vision of the Pacific as an ocean of peace becomes a reality not only for our region, but as a contribution to global peace and stability. In closing, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that through the Ocean of Peace concept, there are opportunities to share the Pacific way with the global audience. The implementation of the Ocean of Peace concept is a shared endeavor involving all of us from the Pacific, the Indo-Pacific, and beyond. We must work together to safeguard our Blue Pacific, our Ocean of Peace, for this generation and those generations to come. Last week, the draft Ocean of Peace Declaration has passed through the integral processes of our Pacific Island Forum leaders, through the senior officials meetings and the Foreign Ministers meeting. Now the draft declaration is ready to be tabled to the Pacific Island Forum leaders for their leaders' consideration at their meeting coming up next month in Honourable, Solomon Islands. I look forward to the support of the Government of the Republic of India for the realization of the Ocean of Peace concept, and through it, in what we can do together for world peace, world security, and the dignity of humankind. Thank you all very much. Dhanyabad. Vinawalev.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for delivering the 54th Sapru House lecture and for sharing your views with us on your concept of Ocean of Peace. Your able shepherding of this concept and vision for the Pacific reflects Fiji's leadership role and stabilizing voice in its region. The concept of Ocean of Peace is a response to the intense geopolitical contestation being witnessed currently in the region, as you yourself mentioned, Mr. Prime Minister, which needs to be collectively managed to safeguard autonomy and to empower. The concept is based on what you have described as the Pacific way of dialogue and consensus. A region's voice must be heard when it comes to contributing to regional and global peace and security. I'm sure our audience today has listened to your lecture with immense interest. Friends, the Honourable Prime Minister has kindly agreed to take a few questions from the audience on the theme of the lecture, that is the Honourable PM's vision of Ocean of Peace, about which you've just heard, and for this we are grateful to him. With your permission, Mr. Prime Minister, may we open the floor for questions? Thank you. So the floor is now open for questions. As I said, questions may please be posed only on the topic of today's lecture, that is Prime Minister's concept and vision of Ocean of Peace. I kindly request the participant to identify himself before asking the question, and please keep your question brief. So I now open the floor for questions. Yes. You here.
Thank you for the insightful lecture. And my name is Avni Sabrok, and my question is that your Ocean of Peace vision hinges on the regional and international support. Do you propose to take it up at other international platforms such as the UN and the International Maritime Organization? And do you also intend to seek endorsement of the Global South? Thank you.
So she's saying that would you like to take this concept also not only to the PIF but also to the UN and to seek the endorsement and also International Maritime Organization and also to Global South.
Thank you, Madam. I first presented this in my first attendance of the UNGA in 2023. In September 2023, I promised UNGA that I was going to bring it back, but through the Pacific Islands Forum of Leaders, which I have done, and I mentioned that in my address. We have had the senior officials of the Pacific considering the various aspects of it and how we're going to structure the declaration. The foreign ministers of the Pacific Islands have also considered that. I have also had bilateral meetings with those world institutions that you mentioned, ma'am. I was at the Munich Securities Conference earlier this year, and I was involved in a panel discussion. And I told them about the Pacific. It's not really unique in the Pacific, but something we probably have not really thought about much. It happens every day in our homes. When a family gets together, normally we don't settle down to eat if the youngest one in the family is crying or is upset. So the parents would probably wait, and the elder siblings will try and calm the child down until we're all settled. And that is the concept I'm trying to bring to the world. When the little island nations of the Pacific are troubled by what is happening out there in the world, we ask that the world listens to us. And the way we want to promote that concept is through declaring our own ocean, an ocean of peace, where we in the Pacific are at peace with one another, where we are requesting that the conflicts of the bigger powers are not brought into the Pacific. And you heard me mention the word coerce a few times, where they could come and try and influence the vote of some of our leaders towards their side of the equation. The IMO, I've raised this in our discussions with them. I've raised it a few times with the Commonwealth leaders. So when I mentioned it in 2023, I came back and did my own homework in promoting the concept to those leaders that I had the good fortune to have come into contact with in the meantime. Now I'm going back to the United Nations General Assembly after the 5th leaders meeting in Honiara in a few days' time, and I will have, hopefully, the declaration that all the leaders of the Pacific are committed to. And as coming from probably the group of smallest island nations in the world, we hope that the concept of the family in the Pacific and in the world will be taken abroad by the leaders. And when the smallest people or the smallest nations in the biggest ocean say, help, everybody would sit down and listen to us. Enough.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. The next question. Yes, the boy in blue shirt.
Thank you, Excellency, for your insightful lecture. I am Keshav. So my question is that how is your concept of ocean of peace been received by other countries in your bilateral dialogues? So did they make any commitments towards promoting this initiative among Pacific Islands? Thank you.
He's asking about your dialogues with China or Russia or Australia. Have you discussed it with them, New Zealand? And what kind of commitments or endorsements have they given?
Thank you. I have not had a personal interaction with the President of the United States. I have asked for bilateral meeting with the President of Russia. I have had meetings with bilateral meetings with the Prime Minister of the UK then and now. The Prime Ministers in the region are all together with this concept. Prime Minister Modi echoed our sentiments and the concept when we spoke yesterday. President Xi Jinping of China, in our discussion, also earlier this year and also last year, has taken it up. A lot of people, big leaders of big nations, have listened. And that's where I brought in this concept of the family and the youngest or the smallest member of the family not being comfortable. Everybody sits up and listens. Because whatever is happening out there is impacting us. Now, what's happening out there is impacting on your relationship with the United States of America. The recent announcement of the tariffs and some things that are coming towards Prime Minister Modi direction. I told him the other day, somebody's not very happy with you. But then you're big enough to weather those discomforts. Yes, people are listening to us. Our job is to take it to the world that we have declared this concept for the ocean of peace in the Pacific. It is up to the United Nations to either embrace it and take it up, and regional leaders to embrace it and take it up in their regional concept and regional leaders meetings. And hopefully we can spread peace. When I was a peacekeeper with the United Nations, I wondered, why did the United Nations call us peacekeepers when there was no peace to keep? We couldn't even enforce peace, but we were called peacekeepers. I spent 4 years keeping the peace, or trying to keep the peace. There was non-existent in the Middle East. We were just beginning to see stability, and then it erupted again. So hopefully more people will sit up and listen and practice that you can resolve differences through dialogue. You can regional consensus and collective collaboration for peace. Vinaka.
Thank you. Next question. So, yes, the lady here. Yeah, please.
Thank you for delivering such an important lecture on this topic, Ocean of Peace. I'm Nandini Khandelwal, Research Analyst at the Council. Your vision seeks to establish the South Pacific region as a zone of stability, unity, and peace, commitment to resilience, and, like you mentioned, a careful balance between national security and sustainable development, which is a step towards promoting regionalism. Now, you have mentioned certain principles to achieve that as well. So, are there any specific mechanisms that you could propose among the Pacific small island nations to foster this unity and collective action in addressing the shared challenges? Thank you.
So, what kind of cooperation are you proposing amongst the Pacific Island countries to build unity?
Thank you. For us in the Pacific, the only cooperation I've asked for in the last 2 years is for us to think about the declaration, because we cooperate very well together. Within the region, we work very well together in the Pacific Islands Forum of Leaders, in our various other programs. We coordinate well, we cooperate well. It is when we have to take a joint declaration that we want to make sure that we are observing those 12 points that we highlight in the declaration in our own bilateral relationship with those that come into the region, and hopefully to cooperate rather than to coerce our cooperation with them against another bloc. If you understand what I mean. And for us in the Pacific, I can be friends to your enemy is not necessarily my friend. No, that's wrong. Your enemy is my friend. So everybody, we'd like to call everybody a friend, and we say we are friends to all, enemies to none. If you don't get on with my friend, that doesn't mean I should not get on with you. We in the region get on very well together, regardless of who else is related to you. And that has been, it is almost customary for us. Although we are different nations now, we're still very much one people. We think alike, we have the same sort of nature, we love dancing and singing, we hate work. And we just want to continue with our way of life. Unfortunately, we have to move on with the world. And hopefully we can get the world to understand us. And if we are marching at a different pace, it's because we are people of the Pacific, and we can only continue to march at our pace if there is peace around us and with us.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. With your permission, I will take one last question.
Thank you.
The lady in black here. Here, this one, here. Second row. Third row.
Thank you, Your Excellency. That was a very insightful lecture. And I must say that your vision of the ocean of peace is very futuristic as well as promising. So now that you've had a very, I'm sure you've had a very proactive visit in India, and you have touched it in passing, but if you could elaborate in how your vision has been received by the leadership in Delhi, and what is the response you have received from your interlocutors in India. Thank you.
So what has the Indian leadership, during your visit, you have spoken about this concept to the Indian leadership and to your Indian counterparts and other interlocutors. What is the kind of response you have received from them?
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. They've all been positive. Not necessarily because they're friends of Fiji and not friends, even if I'm not friendly, even if some of my friends they're not friendly with. They've all been very supportive. I went to Singapore earlier on, and I went to Jakarta, and I met the leaders of those great countries. Everybody seems to love the idea of peace. Maybe we just have not taken it deeper in our thinking. And maybe they're not as vulnerable as we are in the Pacific, that we feel the absence of it very sharply. We would like those that are capable of handling the impact of conflict, maybe not in the immediate area, in the immediate region, but further out. But for those of us who are small in scale, smaller in scale, or the smallest in scale, in our economies, in our size, and our vulnerability to the effects of conflict and the effects of climate change, although nobody is, we are all responsible with our emission and all those things, we try and ask for their cooperation. Peaceful village life could mean that you go to sleep in the evening and not worried whether your house will be washed away in the night when tide comes in, when the high tide comes in. They are higher now. So we want people to cooperate in handling climate change and the rising sea levels. I check my email every day, and there are concerns raised by my own cabinet ministers. This village is calling now for a seawall in front of their village. So there is that absence of peaceful rest because of the effect of what's going on in the world. So it's not just the absence of conflict, it's the peace of mind that's really most important in this concept of the Pacific as a zone of peace.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your detailed and insightful responses to the questions posed by the esteemed members of our audience. I recognize that many more would have liked the opportunity to engage directly with you. I saw a lot of hands amongst the students, especially. However, being mindful of time constraints, we must conclude this session for now. With this, I hand over to Dr. Pragya Pandey to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of the Indian Council of World Affairs, I would like to express my gratitude to His Excellency Sitiveni Ligamamada Rabuka, the Prime Minister of Republic of Fiji, for his very insightful and thought-provoking lecture. We are very grateful to the Honourable Prime Minister for sharing his perspective and his vision on the ocean of peace, highlighting its core elements of unity, stability, commitment to sustainable development, and regional cooperation. The level of interest your remarks generated was clearly reflected in the insightful questions and comments raised by our informed audience. We are confident that your present visit to India will contribute to the further strengthening of India's relations with Fiji and its friendly people. And today's Sapru House lecture will enhance our mutual understanding and appreciation for each other's concerns and interests. I extend our deepest gratitude to each and every member of the audience for their participation. With that, the program concludes. I request everyone to kindly remain seated until the dignitaries have exited the auditorium. You're all warmly invited to join us for high tea, which will be served at the foyer. Thank you all once again. Very good.